continue our discussion of concentration of urine. Up until now, we looked at ADH, looked at its control, and then went into SIADH in great detail. Now we take a look at diabetes insipidus, the opposite of, but nonetheless, an important differential to keep in mind when you have plasma and urine osmolality at hand. So we have nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. Now, what we will do here, ladies and gentlemen, is under renal or nephrology, we will strictly only be managing nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. I want to make sure that we're clear because there's no important piece of information that is left out in your lecture series with me. The central diabetes insipidus will be dealing with that in endocrinology. Is that clear? So here, let's just keep things relevant, and all that I will bring to your attention is the pathology of diabetes insipidus, nephrogenic, in the category of nephrology. With that said, let's continue. And before we move on, though, let's talk about the basic definition and predict as to what's going to happen in our patient with nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. Nephrogenic. That means that there's a problem in the kidney in which ADH is not working properly. Now, just to make sure we're clear, if you have a patient that has SIADH, maybe perhaps secondary to small cell lung cancer, and we talked about that in great detail, then you would purposely induce nephrogenic diabetes insipidus by giving a drug such as demeclocycline so that you can deal with SIADH. However, now we come to the actual primary disease of nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. There's not going to be your V2 receptors working properly. You are not going to be able to properly reabsorb your water. If that's the case, you're going to create massive diluted urine. This clearance of that water, which is free, will be absolutely positive. Remember, if clearance of water is zero, and that's where all I really focused upon, if clearance of your water was zero, it's the fact that you're producing urine that is obligated, meaning with sodium. It's not free of solute. But if you're producing lots of diluted urine and you're clearing this, then understand there's going to be a lot more free water than there's going to be solute free. Accompanied with solute. So there's going to be a lot more free water, thus the clearance of water here is going to be positive. All of that is what we predicted. Let's continue. Plasma osmolarity increases. Plasma osmolarity increases. Are you seeing it? You're losing diluted urine, thus plasma osmolarity increases. It stimulates the posterior pituitary to do what? To produce even more ADH, but obviously it's not going to do anything. So this is a condition in which, and let's now draw some parallels. If the receptors aren't working, give me some pathologies in which the receptors aren't working properly. PTH receptors aren't working properly. What's that diagnosis? That's pseudohypoparathyroidism. Your testosterone receptors aren't working properly. Give me that diagnosis. Androgen insensitivity syndrome. Your insulin receptors aren't working properly. Give me that diagnosis. Diabetes mellitus type 2. Here we have the receptors for ADH not working properly. Why am I bringing all these up? Technically speaking, clinically, each one of those situations that I just gave you, including this one, where we have ADH receptors, the V2 receptors aren't working, the PTH receptors in pseudohypoparathyroidism not working, the receptors for testosterone not working, the insulin receptors not working. Clinically, at some point in time in that disease course of those differentials that I gave you, you would always expect that hormone level to be what? High. Because the receptors aren't working, you're going to get feedback mechanism where, oh my goodness, I want more hormone, want more hormone. Hence, in pseudohypoparathyroidism, you'll find increased PTH. Hence, in androgen insensitivity syndrome, you find increase in testosterone. You could, in diabetes type 2, with an obese patient with insulin resistance, actually have increase in insulin. And you will. Hence, you'll have many of the pathologic courses or sequelae that we see in diabetes type 2. Here, we're going to have too much ADH. Are you drawing the parallels now? I cannot talk about this in good faith without telling you that there are other diseases that behave the same way. Let's continue. So circulating ADH levels, now you can see confidently and understand as to why it's elevated. But who's not responding? The principal cells.